every week when we come here and we read the scriptures about how pertinent they are for our lives, personal or in society. Does anybody notice that? It addresses me. When I'm struggling with something, all of a sudden I come here and something in the scripture reaches out to me and tells me this. God knew a long time ago. The first three words of the collect today, which if you have a copy of the reading, you can see it, says a lot about burdens. And some of these burdens we bring on ourselves. Society is burdening itself as we speak. But the first three words are, set us free. We need to do this. Now, when I read the readings this week, especially the Old Testament, I got a feeling of hope and change, not to steal a slogan from somebody. In our Old Testament reading, Isaiah is awakening his people, shouting out, blowing his trumpet. He's trying to get a word across to them. He's trying to tell them something. And then he gives them a warning. Look, you fast only to quarrel and to fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard or harm. So they're doing fasting. Fasting was done in times of calamity, even before it was put on the liturgy calendar. So what he's saying is, so everybody's out there, things aren't going so well. Things really changed that much over the years? And you're fasting and praying, and then you turn around and quarreling and fighting. Where's the change? How often do we try to change? I know I try to change things about me and I fail. We need a lot of fasting, probably in our personal life, but especially for today's society, in our nation, and internationally. Then we are advised to remove the yoke, or our burdens. And Isaiah refers to, if you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil. If you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places. Make your bones strong, and you shall be like a water garden, like a spring of water, whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundation of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. At the beginning, when he talks about the pointing of fingers, back then, the pointing of fingers was not just rude, it was considered evil. And it always reminds me that when you point a finger at somebody, you have three pointing right back at you. So, and we go around in life and we don't always have to point a finger physically. We do it verbally, through misinformation and gossip. I feel in today's society, we have taken on a very heavy yoke with our fellow men and women, injuring each other physically and emotionally. What would Isaiah do or say if he was here today? In our New Testament reading, Paul's writing to the people of Corinth. There are two passages that kind of jumped out to me. But we speak God's wisdom, secret and hidden, which God decreed before the ages for our glory. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord. And they talk about this secret and hidden thing. Do we talk about the authority of God other than here and when we're among Christians? Has society put us in a place where we're afraid to say that? At work, we get numerous tractor trailers in every day. And a lot of drivers, a little surly, you know. But there's a group there's one driver, not just one, but there's a group of drivers out there that they're in a Christian alliance. They'll come in with their paperwork. And then when they're done, they'll come get their signed paperwork. They'll hand me a CD, a pamphlet for reading. Now, this is a group of truck drivers. I don't know how many of them, but imagine this. They're traveling the whole country, probably Canada, Mexico at times, and they're not afraid to take a moment of their time. They're not trying to get you to pray with them or anything, but they're just making a simple gesture by handing you something. They must have boxes on them in their trucks. So think of the word that they're spreading across the country. They're not keeping their light under a basket. They're living in that house on the hill. They're letting the light shine. Now I want to know, who here has grabbed a day-by-day book out there, or any kind of pamphlet that we have, and maybe given it to somebody? Somebody who's maybe not a total stranger, but not somebody you really know well. Have we done that? I know I haven't. Our third reading in Matthew talks about the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. Back then, salt was considered very pure. It was also used as a monetary. Soldiers, Roman soldiers, were paid in salt. So the old term, you aren't worth your salt. Now we know where it comes from. And then when it turns to, it talks about salt adding zest to food. Is Matthew talking to all of us to be the salt of the earth and add some zest to life of everybody around you? Then sometimes salt was mixed with other ingredients, and the saltiness would leach out, rendering the salt useless. So then it would be thrown out, taken underfoot, but also they would use it to coat patents, maybe an early form of paint. And it tells us, for I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. We have to be smarter than that. In conclusion, I ask that we not point fingers physically or verbally. Let your light shine on the world. Live on that house on the hill. And you know, let's get salt.